If you die wearing sunglasses, does your ghost need glasses? Why do Santa's reindeer not appear on military radar? Are they extraterrestrial? All of these questions you can find the answer to on this Paranormal Life! Hello everyone and welcome back to This Paranormal Life, the comedy paranormal podcast where every week we investigate a new paranormal tale and come to a conclusion as to whether or not it truly is paranormal. Woo! Wow, it is a strange time to be investigating such spooky parts of the world because we are quickly descending into a holiday known as Christmas time.
Wow.
Kit, are you feeling the Christmas spirit? It's the 17th? I don't know what day it is today.
It is. I think it is the 17th. We are knee-deep in December, knee-deep in the Christmas run-up. I just want to quickly address one of the questions you did at the top. I know we're not supposed to, but you said, why do they not go on military radars?
Radar.
Why does Rudolph not show up? You moron. You absolute idiot. You think that if Santa has elves and they have a
Don't be so mean to me at the start of the podcast because it's Christmas time.
They can make anything.
I don't think that's true.
They can make any toy on Earth. You think they can't make a cloaking device? You think
Not a toy.
Think for some reason,
Not a toy.
That the kind of technology that stealth jets have had since the 80s, you think the elves haven't reverse engineered that?
I don't think
They probably engineered it in the first place.
I don't think any good little boy is asking for stealth tech that can ensure that he flies under the radar of military.
I was asking for stealth tech as a little boy. I just wasn't getting it. You think I wasn't asking for stealth tech after playing Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell on Xbox Original?
It is interesting to think about how far you can push a Christmas wish.
Right.
Right? Like, does it have to be a physical thing? Could it be the death of an enemy?
No, it couldn't be that.
That's really what I want this Christmas.
Right, so you're saying if Santa is, hear me out here, he's actually like a genie, a djinn,
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, you figured it out, that the list is actually covering up for the fact that I'm just a genie. If you just ask me for things, I have to do it for you.
He has to do it. You know, because I guess the problem is you have to be a good little boy or girl to get a gift in the first place.
Right.
So here's my plan. I'm going to be a good boy all year, and then I'm going to ask for a gun for Christmas. And when Santa comes down the chimney and gives it to me, guess what? I'll take all the toys. Empty the sack, motherfucker. I want everything.
Can you trick Santa too? Can you?
You're a bad boy. You don't get a gift. If you ask that question, you're put on the bad list for life. Can you trick Santa?
Right, you're like, I'm just straight up. I'm just asking for the gun.
Yeah.
Honest and straight.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, could you, because he's not going to give you the gun, obviously.
He might.
So could you ask for...
I'll ask for a piece every year.
That's what I'm saying. Could you ask for like the 3D printed individual pieces? You're like, I need, Santa, my list is just this schematic of plastic materials. And then the last item is just the trigger to the gun.
Right. And then over the years, by the time you reach like 50 years old, you've assembled a working rifle that you can use to get all the toys. And then ironically, the only wish you have at that point is to get your childhood back.
Right.
Damn. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that poetic? You had the gift the whole time. It was the gift of the wonders of youth.
That's beautiful.
It really is.
Quick sidebar. What if we make children secret agents for the government and we get like little Timmy to ask for Russia's nuclear codes?
Oh, I see. That's smart.
And Santa's so busy, he's in a tiz. He's like, oh, it's Christmas Eve. Oh, shit. We're behind on production. Elves, we're going to have to pull an all-nighter. All right, what's next on the list? All right, okay, we got a little Tommy PP doll, fine, approved, stamp. We got one of the new creepy Furbies, check, approved. I don't know why they're so popular. And then we got nuclear codes for Russian military. Seems weird, but fine, check. Like, he's so in the flow, he just approves it all.
I mean, we're quickly going to descend to a point where the government has an underground lab where they raise the goodest little boys and girls who never do a single thing wrong in their
style,
in their lives because they know their wishes are guaranteed.
They're floating.
It's like 11 from Stranger Things, but it's a child that's only ever gone to bed on time and eaten their vegetables. And it's like anything they wish for comes true at Christmas because they're crazy good. If you couldn't tell, Kid and I are on the naughty list, for sure. And I'm pretty sure if you're listening to this Paranormal Life in any capacity, you're on that list too.
Or as the government like to call it, the no-fly list.
We're on a lot of lists, let me tell you. But hey, happy holidays. We're so glad to have you with us here as we quickly approach the Christmas season. I believe we have one more episode of the podcast left, being released on Christmas Eve.
Yes.
We don't stop.
The time of the year when most podcasts would just say Christmas Eve. Arguably, no one's going to listen to it because
Right.
it's Christmas.
We should
People are
spend some
so
time with our
busy.
families.
Right.
Yeah.
We should just put that energy into releasing more podcasts next year when people are actually listening.
No. You're going to wake up on Tuesday on Christmas Eve and you're going to have a fresh episode of this podcast in your inbox because, hey, yes, Christmas is the time for love and sharing and family. Some people, they either don't celebrate Christmas or they don't necessarily have a family to spend it with. But that isn't the case because you always have the commune. You always have your paranormal family. We're not going to abandon you and go out for a pack of eggnog on Christmas Day and don't come back for 25 years. We're going to be there.
1,000%. We are going to be with you all Christmas, whether you like it or not. And I will be looking at the analytics of that episode because if someone doesn't tune into that episode, I am going to ban their IP address from downloading future episodes. That is, you have to show your commitment to the paranormal cause by listening to our Christmas Eve episode.
That's right. So, hey, I hope that you are excited for that Christmas Eve episode, but I also hope you're excited for today's episode because while not Christmas themed, we are going to the snowy, wintry forests of North America.
Brr.
So, I hope you're ready to hear a chilling tale right after a quick word from today's sponsors and a reminder that you can get every episode of this podcast ad-free over on patreon.com/This Paranormal Life. Today's story takes us all the way back to 1906. It was a cold winter's night in the coastal forests of California, and a seasoned lumberjack was out in the woods, marking trees for clearing. At the end of the day, he sat by a cozy fire, attempting to warm himself against the biting cold. Now, typically being this far into the woods by yourself would be a rookie mistake, especially at this time of year. But we're talking about a lumberjack in 1906. This probably looked like Henry Cavill had sex with a chainsaw.
Pure man.
All man, rugged, tough, sharp, loud.
You're like, this guy's so American. He looks like Henry Cavill. A British man? Sure. The most British man looks even more American somehow than an American.
The lumberjack had spent a lot of time out in these woods, but today, something felt different. That's when he heard the sound of a branch snapping in the darkness. He spun around. Hello? Who's out there? There was no response. He tried to let his eyes adjust to the darkness as the strange sounds continued from the nearby bushes. The lumberjack grabbed his axe, ready to defend himself. And that's when he heard it. A cry that he would remember for the rest of his life.
Alright, stop. Whoa, call in time real quick. What was that?
That is a very accurate representation of the cry he heard.
It's
I've worked really hard to nail it, so...
Yeah, I think Henry Cavill had a bit too much eggnog in the cabin. I think that's all that is.
The scream sounded like it was coming from every direction at once. The lumberjack leapt to his feet as this creature emerged from the woods. In the glow of the fire, he could now see it clearly. The most horrifying beast he'd ever laid eyes on. Get ready for this description. You are not prepared.
Okay.
It had a large triangular body shaped like a giant Toblerone, but covered in sharp, bristly hairs. And protruding from the hair all over its body were extra legs.
What? Hairy Toblerone with extra legs? It's a caterpillar made of chocolate.
This creature had legs on its back and side poking out from all directions.
Wow.
Its head was attached with a swivel neck so it could rotate 360 degrees.
No.
Pretty horrifying description of Literally anything. This sounds like a biblically accurate angel.
How is it after all that just making the sound of just a Tottenham supporter getting kicked in the nuts? Ooh!
It does sound like the cries of a guy who's had too much Guinness down at the local Weatherspoons. This is kind of terrifying, Kit, to come across a beast that looks like this for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, this guy stepped into a Junji Ito novel.
Yeah. I mean, the most worrying thing is usually a cryptid or a monster has a weak spot. I wouldn't know where to hit this thing. Usually, if I come across a cryptid, the first thing I do is run up to it and kick it in the nuts. Mm-hmm. I don't know where the nuts are.
You said there were legs, which may lead to nuts, but not always, as I think we know from humans.
Right. Is it kind of a lucky dip? You just got to kick them between every pair of legs till you hit the jackpot? Or does this creature possess several pairs of nuts? Merry Christmas, by the way.
Look, we've got, for once in this Paranormal Life history, normally we've got slack-jawed yokels who have absolutely no gumption, kind of having this first-hand experience. We've got, you said it was like The Rock crossed with a boulder.
Yeah.
With an axe, holding an axe.
The Rock the actor crossed with a boulder, not a rock crossed with a boulder, which is another
crossed
rock.
With a boulder.
Yeah.
And he's got an axe, so this guy has the tools to take this thing down a couple pegs.
He immediately took off running.
Oh, God damn it.
Back to civilization.
Fair enough.
Did you not hear how many legs this thing has?
I get it.
And its head can swivel 360 degrees? Run home. It is either a beast of legendary proportions or you ate some tainted berries and you need to get back to civilization anyway because you were about to die. This lumberjack didn't know it at the time, but what he saw would soon be known by the locals as the WHINTOSSER.
The what?
The WHINTOSSER.
All right. Does tosser mean the same thing in America that it means here?
What does it mean in the UK?
Wanker.
Okay.
A wanker.
Okay, well, I'm going to say no then.
A tosser. It's such a good British slag thing. You slag someone off, you call them a tosser.
It's pretty good,
This is the WHINTOSSER.
Yes, the WHINTOSSER.
Okay, WHIN, tosser.
Ancient North American beast. Kit, what the is going on here today? Have we ever heard of a creature in our paranormal history that's looked anything like this?
Obviously not, no.
I mean, the only thing that kind of comes to mind for me is possibly the hodag.
Mm-hmm.
I believe a very similar North American cryptid, a spiky little ball that is equally intimidating, but doesn't match the description of this thing, the legs, the swivel head. Very strange.
I will say this thing sounds like it stepped right out of the video game Silent Hill, big triangle head on it. And I wonder, is it a cryptid we're dealing with, or is it some kind of... Because cryptids tend to be like creatures forgotten by science and God.
Right.
Or evolutionary spin-offs that have died, supposed to have died many millions of years ago, but haven't. Is it possible that this is actually some kind of mutated creature? It sounds kind of grotesque and ridiculous.
Yeah.
Is it possible this is more like the X-monkey, which I believe is kind of like a lab experiment gone wrong?
Right. I think that would be a good hypothesis if we weren't in 1906, which I don't know how many experimental laboratories were set up in the North American wilderness.
And we're slightly too early for the kind of American Manhattan Project nuclear age. When did nuclear power start?
I don't know.
It was a little later than that, I think.
Yeah, so I think today what we're looking with should be organic. But hey, let's learn a little bit more about this creature. Well, it wasn't long before the WHINTOSSER became common knowledge to the lumberjacks of California. In fact, in the 1910 edition of Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods, the WHINTOSSER is mentioned by name. I guess they thought that this was a real enough threat that lumberjacks should be warned about the creature if they're going out into the woods.
Is there that many dangerous creatures? I guess there is in California, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mountain lions.
Yeah, we're going to get onto
Bears,
some
maybe.
of the other fearsome creatures mentioned in these books. But
Had Toblerone even been invented yet at this point?
I don't think so.
he was like, imagine, if you will, and I know this is f***ed up, a triangular chocolate. That's the starting point of my description. Let's start there, and then I'll add limbs.
If you pitched that idea in 1910, you would have been burnt at the stake for being a witch. A triangle bar of chocolate? You're the devil. Absolutely. So yeah, that does seem quite a revolutionary idea. Well, back in 1910, this is what the book said about the windtosser. They said,
"In the spring of 1906, there appeared suddenly in the coast ranges of California an uncanny animal. It is not a large beast, but what it lacks in size, it makes up for in meanness of disposition."
Understatement of the century. Understatement.
"None of the lumberjacks who have met a windtosser care to have the experience repeated. The Central American WHINTOSSER is always looking for trouble or making it."
which I kind of like. That makes it sound like he's got a bit of an attitude.
Yeah, he's the bad boy of the pack.
Yeah. We obviously focused on the creature's body and shape, but there's so much more to its anatomy than just what it looks like. For example, its head is fastened to its body by a swivel neck, and so is its short tail.
You gotta stop saying swivel neck. What does that mean?
A swivel, well, here you go. This explains it. That means that both its head and its tail can be spun around at the rate of 100 rotations a minute.
No, he didn't get that good a look. He didn't get that good a look. Nah. Unless you shot this thing and studied it in the lab, we don't know.
100 rotations a minute?
It's like a helicopter on both sides.
It means, so like if I'm looking at you, I could turn my head upside down. It's on a swivel.
Don't say swivel neck.
I can't.
Because that's not a thing. I get it. So like in The Exorcist, her head turns around.
Yeah.
Except it's going like a Wurlitzer.
It's a hairy Beyblade.
Yeah.
This thing can spin around so quickly that it becomes a drill.
Arguably so fast you're not even getting a good look at it.
Yeah. Which just seems unnecessary because you're already terrifying enough. You don't need to show up and also make your head spin at 100 miles an hour.
Let's come back to the berries. You mentioned earlier he might have eaten some berries. I don't want to bury that lead. I don't want to move past that because Occam's razor, and you know I don't like to bust out the O word.
Right.
But Occam's razor says we always have to entertain the most likely or least complicated solution.
You think it's the berries?
I'm just you're the one who brought them up.
Just a chance. But I think we're going to find out, Kit, that so many people have seen this thing over the years, and it's so well documented. It can't just be trippy berries.
Right. The Windtosser showed up in force at Berryfest 1906.
All right, well, this description in the book might help explain why the monster has a swivel head, okay? It says,
"The body of the creature is long and triangular, with 3 complete sets of legs. This is a great convenience in earthquake country, since the animal is not disturbed by any convulsions of the earth. If the floor becomes the ceiling, it does not matter, for the Windtosser is always there with legs."
Not how an earthquake works. The floor doesn't become the ceiling. That guy's never been in an earthquake in his life.
Absolutely never been in an
Nor
earthquake.
have I, but I've seen the videos, and the ground goes wobbly.
I once left a pub at midnight and the floor became the ceiling. You fell over. You fell over is what happened. Yes, I believe what they're implying here is if the creature loses its balance and falls over, it has another set of legs ready to go and the head swivels to reposition itself.
Yes. Which makes sense.
I remember when I was growing up, all right? And all I wanted for Christmas, here we go, so this is a relative story. All I wanted for Christmas was a remote control car that when you drove it into a wall at full speed.
Which is what young boys do.
Which is what we all did because we wanted to try and make our cars explode. It would hit the wall, flip the car, and on the other side of the car was another car.
Yeah, it was a completely symmetrical design.
It could never flip.
Yeah.
It would always be right side up.
Yeah.
That's the Windtosser. You could smash this thing into a wall at 90 miles per hour and it would just start walking the other way because you can't flip it to a side it is unable to walk with.
Do you know what was another great one? And I don't know if the Windtosser has this, but just in terms of early 2000s remote controlled cars.
Oh, yeah.
There was one that had, does anyone remember Robot Wars? This is pure Robot Wars.
Hell yeah.
It had a lever, which was the jump button, and it would cause a lever to come down, smash into the ground, and your remote controlled car into the air really high.
Yeah. Did you ever get one of those?
I don't think so, no.
Nah. I had a friend who had one. I also wanted the remote control, things we never got as kids. You could tell we were naughty boys because I didn't get a single toy I wanted for Christmas. There was also a remote control car that was a hover car. Do you remember that one?
No.
And it was like you could drive it on a lake. It was so cool. But then you could also just drive it onto the paths and it would still work.
Right. Yeah. That's cool.
And then the trailer was like, get this cool remote control hover car. On road, off road, no road, and they drive it onto the lake. It was awesome.
Why does it feel like we've gone backwards in toy technology?
What do you mean? Toys are boring now?
Like I guess my toddler watches enough like CBBS and stuff to see ads for toys in the run up to Christmas time now.
Yeah,
I don't see any off road, on road, no road type ads.
I think kids just have a drone now. Probably toys have gotten way cooler and more advanced.
I did see recently one of the most depressing economic graphs I've ever seen was it was showing how with inflation and the cost of so many things has gone up like exorbitantly over the years, whether that's rent, energy, etc. Which begs the question, has anything gone down in price? And the one thing that has is toys. Toys today cost like a fraction of what they used to cost when we were kids.
I guess that's a good thing.
Not really.
No one's buying toys.
If anything, we should be making plastic more expensive. The planet is drowning in plastic. We've microplastic in our blood. We should be making more plastic, making it cheaper. So there you go. Right. So next time you can't afford your home heating bill, just remember that you might be able to afford that little hovercraft.
There you go. And that'll make you happy. Look, I think at this point, Kit, I'm just going to have to show you a picture of a wind tosser. Because this thing is very difficult to describe. You just need to see it. All right?
Yes, finally. Let's go.
So here is an artist's depiction of what a wind tosser looks like.
This is the most mad thing. This might be the maddest thing I've ever seen in this part of my life. It might be. In terms of cryptids.
Yeah.
It might be. Yeah.
I genuinely think so. I mean, it is what I said it is.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So, I don't know what's going on, that these guys are lumberjacks. This thing is a log of wood.
Yeah.
Like, Toblerone is one way of putting it. It's like, it is vaguely triangle shaped, but it's essentially a big hairy log of wood.
There are some illustrations of the creature where it's made of wood.
Yeah, okay.
It's not even furry.
I'm glad I said that then. I'm glad. Because, yeah, now that we're talking about it, I don't know that is fur. I think the legs are furry.
It's pine.
It's got rings. It's got rings like a log. It's just a wooden creature.
That's how you know how old it is.
Yeah, clearly. So big log of wood. Let's just beat to the punch here.
It's a furry beast.
And
with legs, not branches.
Covered in legs. What the This looks like Sid from Toy Story would have made this.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it can't be real.
Well, no, we don't know.
It can't be.
Definitely don't say that before the ad break because we need to bring everyone back here.
Right, but I'm just saying, I just want to bring it up because you've shown me an image in which the head is like bolted on. The head is bolted on like Lego.
No, that's a neck fold. That's not.
It's a swivel neck, as you love to call it.
Well, it is a swivel neck,
which is not a thing, and it's in 1906, so it's kind of like a robot.
Give me that back. That is the last sentence you want to hear in any cryptid cases. This can't be real.
I'm just saying. At a certain point, you show me something so mad, it can't be real.
You didn't talk about the face at all. Its actual head.
I mean, it's kind of the most normal thing about it. It kind of just looks like a beast, horrifying.
Yeah.
But, like a kind of, I don't know, a big scary wolf head or something.
Yeah, like a creature that has rabies or something. I would agree that anatomically, this isn't even a creature that should be able to survive, even if it was real.
Yeah.
This would have died out 1 million years ago.
This is not a product of evolution.
No, it's maybe a product of de-evolution. I love this description of the creature, which says,
It has been said that a cat's 9 lives are nothing compared to the one possessed by the WHINTOSSER.
That means nothing. What does that mean?
This animal may be shot, clubbed, or strung up on a pike pole without stopping its screams of rage.
Yeah, because it's a robot.
basically, this guy is a Furby in the wild. You can take his batteries out and it's still gonna keep screaming.
Yeah. As much as I hated it, just for the sake of completion of the picture, can you do the scream one more time?
Oh!
Yeah, all right.
Oh!
That's not what that thing sounds like. There's no... You don't know that.
Yeah,
you
sorry,
don't
that
know
was a
that.
bit too high
You don't
pitched.
know that. That was... You don't know that. You don't
Well, I
know.
might know it and I might have it on good authority and you might find out
1906
why.
wasn't exactly a iPhone voice memo, was it?
In some stories, the creature just hates humans, which does make sense because if you live in the forest, you're probably not going to love the people that come in and start cutting down the forest.
Yeah, if you are a tree, you're not gonna like lumberjacks, that's for sure. If you're a f***ing log.
Yes, is this a
If you're a
cryptid that's
piece
only
of
appeared
lumber.
to the people who cut down trees?
It's their subconscious. It's their guilty
They're
conscience.
seeing the
It's
ghosts
created.
of the California redwoods they cut down. According to other encounters, though, it doesn't just hate humans, it eats humans.
Right.
That's its primary source of food. As I said, people at the time took these reported encounters very seriously, and as they should, because the WHINTOSSER isn't just a single beast, it's a species.
It's a way of life.
In fact, John Gray of Trinity County, California, claimed to know where a pair of WHINTOSSERs lived, down by some place called Mad River.
It's checking out so far.
Does check out. We know the WHINTOSSER is an angry guy, so he's gonna hang out at Mad River. But tall tales from old lumberjacks aren't gonna be enough today to convince us that this thing is real. We need more concrete evidence of first-hand encounters.
How big is it?
The WHINTOSSER?
Because you didn't tell me, but then in the written description they said it's not big. And now I want to know how not big it is.
Well, you know, it varies. As I said,
Stop being around the bush, tell me.
This is a species of creature, so we don't know. It varies in size, I'm sure.
No, that's not what a species even means. Species, fair enough, dogs do vary massively, but most
Very much
animals,
so.
the species means that there's one of them.
How big is a log, brother? Some logs are huge, some logs are small.
So it is a log.
I didn't say it was a log. I'm just using that as a reference point. Hey, how big is a Toblerone?
Yeah, but one log.
Some Toblerones are tiny. Some of the novelty ones are huge.
Let's go back to the logs, actually. The logs suited me because one log could be big, one log could be small.
Yeah.
And they're different species.
Not always.
Yes, always.
Sometimes you cut down a tree.
Well, one's a baby and one's a big one. That's the only difference.
Look, it doesn't matter what size it is, all right? What matters is it's real and it's on a swivel neck.
Stop saying that.
Kid, back in 1920, an article appeared in the Jersey Journal that claimed an individual named Sally Forth and her friends, referred to only as the Kitchen Gang, had an encounter with a WHINTOSSER. Don't laugh, this is serious. This is a first-hand encounter with the WHINTOSSER.
Why does this sound like an episode of Scooby-Doo? You're telling me the Jersey Journal said that Sally Forth and the Kitchen Gang are down by Mad River? I go, we gotta get down there.
I don't know why they're referred to as the Kitchen Gang. Were they trying to eat this thing? I don't know.
Sally Forth? Sally Forth sounds like what an old British general would say as they're going into battle. Sally Forth! Good men!
Sally Forth, kitchen boys!
Kitchen Gang?
Sally and the group spotted the creature roaming about in the Moonachie Swamp, Hudson County, and immediately knew they had to do something. But knowing just how indestructible this creature is, they knew any attack would be futile against its hard exterior and many, many feet. So instead, the gang tried to kill the beast by using a sponge soaked with moonshine.
What? They were trying to knock it out like with chloroform?
Yeah, I think they just, I don't know,
You don't want to get that close.
shoved a moonshine-soaked sponge in its face.
Just kick it in the head at that point.
It's swiveling around at 100 miles an
And
hour.
you're going to do much better by Steve Irwin style, mounting it from the back and putting the sponge in its mouth.
As I said, this claim appeared in a newspaper. I have the newspaper right
the
here.
Jersey Journal?
Yeah, I have the Jersey Journal. I know this is a silly case. Don't come at your boy Rory and say he's not bringing real evidence to the table. That is a copy of the newspaper that details this encounter and Sally and the Kitchen Gang.
The headline reads, Sally forth to slay deadly wind tosser.
Hell yeah.
Sponge soaked with, quote, hooch is Kitchen Gang's method of attack. So they haven't done it yet. They haven't done it yet.
I don't know when this article was written.
Why do they sound like a big band, Sally Forth and the Kitchen Gang? Why does Sally Forth get her own name? Is she in the gang?
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sally Forth and the Kitchen Gang.
That's going to be in Jules Holland's annual Hootenanny.
Right.
Please welcome everyone to the stage. They're absolutely brilliant. Sally Forth and the Kitchen Gang.
And they all play kitchen utensils.
Do the
like they're banging
washboard.
saucepans.
The Kitchen Gang does sound like a great, like, Swedish hip-hop crew or something.
Yeah. And they're kind of like
Kitchen Gang.
They're kind of like Chapel Roan, you know, because she sings like "Hot to Go," which is like a food reference. Mm-hmm. So all their songs are like "Order up, order up."
Okay, not the direction
from the Kitchen Gang, you know, or like, you know, dinner's served, but in like dinner is serving, you know, like a cool
Dinner is serving.
It's giving lunch.
That's what I say to when I go to eat with my parents. That's what I say to my mum and dad. Mum and dad, dinner is honestly serving. I'm gonna eat and leave no crumbs.
Dinner honestly ate. Dinner ate. Absolutely ate.
What are you talking about? You ate dinner. Not mothering. She's like, what?
What the are you talking about?
Oh my God, not father mothering.
Who knows? Maybe by the end of this, we'll have to write a song for this episode by Sally and the Kitchen Gang about the wind tosser. But until then, we must push on. Unfortunately, Sally and the Kitchen Gang were unsuccessful because, according to the 1910 edition of Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods, there is only one way to kill a wind tosser. And we're going to tell you exactly how, right after a quick word from today's sponsors. All right, welcome back, everyone. If you're still listening, that means one possible thing. You are currently face to face with a wind tosser, and you need to know how to kill it. The moonshine didn't work. Kicking it in the nuts didn't work. But you'll be happy to know there is a way to kill this cryptid. And it's a lot stranger than you think. Again, similar to the hodag, this thing is seemingly indestructible. I think in the case of the hodag, they had to blow it up with dynamite.
Oh, that's right.
Because it had such a hard shell, hard exterior. The wind tosser is similarly indestructible. There is a way to kill it. I don't know how they figured this out, but stick with me. Apparently, the only thing that can kill the wind tosser is itself. What you need to do is find a way to trap the creature inside of a large pipe with flume. When the beast is trapped in the pipe, all of its multiple legs from every side will be touching a surface, and it won't know which way is up, and it won't know which way to walk. The creature will start walking in 3 different directions at once and rip itself apart.
Yeah.
What do you think about what do you think about that?
Yep.
I was hoping more than just one word.
Keep going.
It's interesting, right? The theories.
It's great.
Because I don't know how a creature in a pipe where there's only 2 directions
to
go
get lunch or something. I think we could.
This is important.
Huh?
This is important. Because, as I said, a lot of people in North America, in the woods, might find themselves one day trapped with a wind tosser. I really love this cryptid, Kit, because as we know, a lot of the cryptids and monsters that we hear about today are only around because they've managed to survive in stories and tall tales over the years. You know, kind of like Bigfoot. There was a time 100 years ago where Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and the wind tosser would all have been talked about in the same stories.
Well, it's pretty astonishing that there is clearly a survival handbook specifically for lumberjacks in the Californian forest, which would suggest that there's more than 3 pages.
Yes.
It's clearly full of details of several creatures.
Yes, Kit, I'm actually so glad you brought that up because You're right. The Windtosser is only one of many of these specific creatures mentioned in these old-timey lumberjack books. The exact classification of these cryptids are fearsome critters, which is a term used to describe any mythical or folkloric creature from early lumberjack tales that were said to inhabit the wilderness of North America.
I love that.
Right?
Great name. Way better than cryptids, by the way. Fearsome critters.
Fearsome critters. I went through a
Please
list.
welcome Sally Forth to the Fearsome Critters. She fell out with the kitchen gang. She started a new band.
I went through some of the listings of these creatures, and I thought we could just rattle through a few of the other ones that you might come across. First off is...
it's like, first off is Irishmen. Look, it was a different time. They were kind of lumping just humans in there. It wasn't very politically correct.
They said that Irishmen look like a big potato with legs. It's very offensive.
We tried to knock them out with a moonshine-soaked rag. It only made them stronger.
You know what? Just because we've got this theme going, I might as well continue the vibe of this being a late night talk show host. So, all right, yeah, play some music. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show tonight. This Paranormal Life, it's our Christmas special. We're going to be introducing some of the Christmas critters that you might not have heard of. So please, first off, welcome to the show tonight, the Wonk.
Whoa!
Down some jazz there, welcome in, some studio applause.
You're trolling me at this point. So we've got the Windtosser and the Wonk.
The Wonk.
Straight wonk in it.
The Wonk is an incredibly shy cryptid that never wants to be seen. In fact, sorry for bringing you onto the show then, buddy. I do apologize. In fact, so much so that if the Wonk ever comes across a human, it quickly digs a hole, climbs in it, and then fills the hole behind itself in order to hide.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Yep. Hard to get evidence on that creature then.
While the Wonk may seem similar, they are not to be confused with the squidgy cum squee.
All right. Yeah, I said about lunch. What do you think? I was thinking maybe Mexican or...
Kit, do you have any questions today for the Wonk? We brought him into the studio, so...
We must be at conclusions by now, right? No? I'm just checking the clock.
Nope, we got more guests,
Really?
actually. So if you don't have any questions,
Okay,
I
well,
can
bring on the
introduce-
next guest.
All right. It was a short stay, but the Wonk does not like humans. So thank you for joining us, Wonk. We do have more fearsome critters to welcome to the show.
Squidward?
Squidgy cum squee. And we're not welcoming them to the show today because, of course, next, please.
Squidgy Kumski?
Next, welcome.
Skeet
Please.
Davidson himself.
Please welcome to the show.
So you have the Wonk, you have the Tosser, and we
not-
have the Squidgy Kumski. You're trolling me.
Please welcome to the show our next guest, the duck-footed dum-dum. The duck-footed dum-dum is a cryptid that comes around every spring. This is one of the strangest anatomic creatures that I have ever heard of, my friend.
Wouldn't this be a great game show if it was like, celebrity panels, like we've got Paul Mescal on the couch.
Right.
Then the Wonk, the Squidgy Kumski, the duck-footed dum-dum.
Yeah. Paul Mescal is like, yeah, it was it was really cool being a part of Gladiator 2, and I got to go see all these cool things. It's like, oh, it's really interesting. And Windtosser, I hear you've been mostly kind of exploring North America. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Interesting, yeah. Applause from the crowd.
Actually, brings a tear to your eye.
The duck-footed dum-dum, it has two long tails like bass drum sticks.
Okay.
And it swings them forward to its back to hit the tight skin, creating a drumming sound.
It's a drum?
It has a drum on its back.
So the Windtosser is a log, and then the duck-footed dum-dum is a drum. So it's not a dum-dum, it's a drum-drum.
When fish hear the drumming, they flock to the shores to lay their eggs. The dum-dum doesn't eat the eggs.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a mouth.
Because it's a drum.
It just watches over them until the fish are born. Thank you for joining us. On to the next creature, next guest, unless you have a question for the dum-dum. Starting to regret turning this into a game show. You don't seem interested in the concept. But we do have another
You are
guest.
committed to the
But
concept.
I can't just now talk about the next one. I have to introduce him with all the fanfare and stuff, even though I think we can all agree this is going poorly. Every guest has made this worse of an idea.
In the band tonight. Shout out to Questlove.
So just, all right, well, we're just going to push on. This is our final guest of the Fearsome Critters. Let's try and drum up a little energy in the room tonight. Please welcome to the stage, the Snollygoster.
We've had this one before.
Nope.
We've done the Snollygoster. We
Because
have.
the Snollygoster is not to be confused with the Snallygaster.
Oh, off! No! It's the same.
No, it's not. It's very different. They even make a note of that in the book. Don't confuse them. Don't confuse them. The Snollygoster is not a creature that you want to meet. So be careful. Everyone in the front row, you are at risk. The Snollygoster looks like an alligator with no arms.
Alligator with no arms. I don't remember anything about the other one. I don't even remember which was which. I don't remember which is which, but I don't remember that about it.
Well, maybe this is what I'm saying. It's not to be confused because it's a completely different creature.
I feel like I'm having a bad trip. I feel like I took mushrooms at the start of this, and the setting is all wrong. I'm not having and now just a jester wearing a Santa hat is sitting in front of me, just showing me, just making up words and just saying insane things.
Can we get security down here? I'm gonna have to escort this gentleman from the front row because he's actually distracting me from performing as the host of Fearsome Critters. The Snollygoster looks like an alligator with no arms and a unicorn-style horn on its back. It's said that the Snollygoster will eat any meat, but it does prefer human flesh. When it catches an animal, or a man, it will use its tail to flip the victim onto the spike on its back.
Okay, how does it get it off?
It doesn't. I think it just kind of eats it, rips it off like it's
Brilliant.
like a kebab on its own back at that point.
Brilliant. Is that a common one in the Californian
Not
forests?
as common as the Snallygaster for sure. Look, you brought it up. You said, oh, isn't it interesting that there's so many fearsome critters out there that they had to write a book about it? And I was like, oh my God, he's gonna love this. I actually have a bunch of info on all those creatures, and you hated every one of them.
Yeah, I did. This is like me being at a dinner party and being like, "Can I get a glass of water?" And then you waterboarding me in the kitchen, being like, "You asked for it.
I thought you wanted
brought
water.
it up."
I thought you were thirsty. Okay. Wow, that bombed. As a concept,
No, I'm sure everyone liked
and a
it.
podcast. I don't know.
I think it's fair to say I was already having issues with the evidence portion of the I don't even remember what we're talking about today.
The WHINTOSSER.
The WHINTOSSER.
You
yeah.
do know.
No, I didn't. I forgot. And I just think it's cool. It's cool that there's many other cryptids allegedly in these woods.
Didn't seem so cool when I was talking about them a couple minutes ago.
It's cool. It's cool. I'm happy that they exist. Good for them. And but maybe we should focus again on the WHINTOSSER. Just really to focus this thing.
Right. I was going to save all that other stuff to the end, but you f***ing brought up the Fearsome Critters and the book. So I literally said, oh, let me reverse this. And you made a dump truck sound effect. It's all in the podcast. So that's why I had to do this shit on the fly. I'm now having to go back to the WHINTOSSER because I tried to improvise and it all went badly.
I think it was just a throwaway line. I think I just said like, yeah, damn, that's crazy. They had a little book.
No.
And you were like, chapter 1, the wonk.
All right, let's go back to the WHINTOSSER then.
Please.
Because I feel like I
can't believe the WHINTOSSER feels like reading the dictionary compared to what you just did.
Yeah, this could work out in my favor because now the WHINTOSSER doesn't sound so crazy anymore.
It's pretty crazy.
At least he was in newspapers and there are a lot of reported sightings. So yes, let's go back to the WHINTOSSER, the subject of today's investigation. I believe the WHINTOSSER's last appearance in written form was as recently as 1984. In a book that described the WHINTOSSER's abilities, it said, the WHINTOSSER's head and tail are fastened to its body by almost frictionless swivels that when angry are whirled at unbelievable speeds and create such turbulence that nothing is safe.
That's not a creature. That's a machine.
Some folks caught by the whirling winds of the windtosser, say the power of the air is of extreme hurricane force, taking everything not nailed or tied down before it.
Like a tornado?
Like a tornado. This thing can spin so fast, it can actually generate gale force winds.
We're being trolled. We're being trolled.
Unfortunately, the book that said this was called Grandpa's Rib Ticklers and Knee Slappers.
Why am I being tormented? Why am I being tormented this close to Christmas?
I just thought you'd want to hear a little Christmas tale about a little guy.
Why was this appropriate for Christmas? Because it's cold?
He's in the woods. He's in the snow.
You made up the fact
he
that
looks like a chocolate bar.
I think you made up that it was just cold at the beginning of the story, and you're saying this is a Christmas tale.
We're done, man.
We're
done.
Grandpa's rib ticklers.
You know what the worst part is? We weren't even supposed to be done at this point. I was supposed to go on to talk about the fearsome critters, which I already did in the form of a game show that bombed. So now I've got nothing.
I've lost it. My brain is scrambled and cooked. Sauteed and flambéed.
Reorganizing that script was done so poorly that the last words I said were Grandpa's rib ticklers and knee slappers. And then I said, conclusions? This sucks. This really sucks to hear and feel.
Yeah, this evidence was worse than no evidence. You would have been way better off not bringing up any book, any newspaper clipping.
So that last bit of information does take us to the conclusions.
This is dumber than Willy Wonka's creations. This is dumber than fiction. You couldn't, if you tried to. That's always the most believable thing about this story is if you tried to make this stuff up, you couldn't.
Right. Yeah. Because I think, Willy Wonka creates like snozberries and shit. Snozberries sounds like something that could be a fearsome critter. The scallywog, the snoodle-long, the wonk. Yeah.
Do you think it's real?
Irrelevant.
No, not irrelevant. No. At the end of every episode,
we come down on a conclusion. And there's so many amazing creatures to think about in today's case.
You can conclude on any of them if you want.
I actually think
take the floor.
The book of fearsome critters is so extensive and detailed that might have to be a bonus episode of the podcast where we go into. I only mentioned 3 of them. There's more. There's more backstage right now.
You can host that one yourself, I think.
Excuse me.
You and Paul Mescal.
Today we are here to decide definitively whether or not we believe the windtosser is real. I'm going to throw it to Kit first. Because I think it's important that we discuss this. This was a real threat to lumberjacks at the time. So much so it had to be detailed in numerous books, both joke books and guides of the wilderness. We even have a copy of a newspaper report from the time where allegedly Sally and the Kitchen Gang tried to kill one of these creatures with moonshine. So we have, I'm not going to say good evidence today, but some evidence.
Yep.
Actually, you know what? Before I forget, before we go to conclusions, I know we're just about to decide.
Yep.
I almost forgot. I do have one.
Let me just stop you there. Can't be that important because it's not in the script. Rory threw his script away because it's finished, because the episode's over. And then right before I was about to say my conclusion, he pulls out his phone.
It's actually crucial, but because of the restructuring I did on the fly, it got lost in the commotion between the creation of an improv game show and revealing Grandpa's knee slappers.
Which, by the way, the last time we did an improvised game show on the podcast, it was for World's Shittiest Cryptids, a 2-part series on the world's worst cryptids. So you must subconsciously know that these are some of the worst cryptids you've ever talked about.
No, I just like the format of the game show. I think it's fun. At the start of this entire episode, when we had our story of the lumberjack who first had the encounter with the windtosser, I did an incredibly accurate recreation of the beast's cry. And you were saying, how would you possibly know that, Rory, if it was so long ago and no one has a recording of this? Well, YouTube account Lumberwoods actually has a YouTube video that reportedly recreates the cry of the windtosser. So, if you want one more piece of evidence that could tip you over the edge, how about this?
WHINTOSSER says...
So, do you think Mexican or Japanese? Because I
Well,
could,
we know his
call
origin.
ahead
His
and
origin
what?
is North American. I don't know if there is a Mexican wind tosser or a Japanese wind tosser.
Right. Sorry, I was talking about lunch.
Oh, right.
Maybe we could. I think if we went now, we could probably beat the rush as well. So, yeah. Thoughts?
On the wind tosser?
No,
or
on lunch.
lunch? Whatever the kitchen gang is cooking up.
Yeah,
I
all right.
figure.
What was that?
Just say what you want to say, man.
WHINTOSSER says. So violently disgusting.
Does he say that? I don't know. That is the only recording
It's not a recording of
I could
WHINTOSSER.
find of a replication of a wind tosser
Right.
scream. Just say it's
Keep
a
it a
no.
version.
Just say it.
Hey, I didn't say anything.
Just say it. Well, it's time for conclusions.
Look, a very cool time in history. The type of witnesses we like to see on the podcast.
Sure.
Which is just to say men who live alone in the woods and whose minds have rotted. Multiple witnesses allegedly, and one piece of a newspaper clipping. Sally Forth and the Kitchen Gang, not real. That's not a real witness. The Kitchen Gang, we can't say, in previous episodes, we'll be like, Lieutenant Sally Forth, who has 12 years in the Secret Service, 15 years of departmental research into metal analysis, into blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
This person came on record and said this. The Kitchen Gang isn't quite cutting it. We don't know who that is.
I actually respect our service workers. And I think their opinion is just as valid as Colonel.
I don't think they work in a kitchen. I respect hospitality workers too. I don't think they've seen a kitchen before in their lives. I think they might have knives. That might be why they're called the Kitchen Gang.
They're like, we're actually banned from many kitchens because of our clothes and odor.
I think for me, I'll just come out and say, I think the hardest thing for me to look past when it comes to a cryptid, I'm open to crazy, crazy ideas of cryptids, but this is so kind of Lego-like, and as I say, Sid from Toy Story style of a toy mashup, that I find it hard to believe this was created by nature.
Yeah, I think that's very safe to assume. We've seen creatures that have many, many legs. Anatomically, it usually makes sense.
Yeah.
The way the legs are attached to the body. Look at a spider or an octopus. It's all functional. The wind tosser, it just has like limp legs poking out of its back and side. I really do love this era of cryptids. We don't talk about it enough. This North American lumberjack catalog
I would agree.
of strange creatures who, as I said, maybe at one time were right up there as A-list stars with Bigfoot and Sasquatch. But just over the years, they've become less and less popular, while some cryptids still are very mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
These are like the silent movie era stars of Hollywood.
Yeah.
They're like back in the day, would have been on all the posters and billboards, the wind tosser. But now they didn't make the transition into the talkies or the color movies. So they just died out in these old legends and stories. You can still appreciate them, and they do have a fun novelty to them. But do we think they are real? I'll say it first. It's a no this week from me.
It is a no.
Damn it.
I'm going to give it a no, and I'm going to not think too hard about how this era of cryptids reflects on the modern era of cryptids, because I'm starting to worry that our shit today will sound as stupid to people in 50 years as this does to me now.
Right. The skunk ape and some of the cryptids we've said yes to.
Yep.
Maybe in 100 years, they're going to be like, there'll be someone else doing a show. And they would be like, well, podcaster Kit Greer Mulvena said it was real on a podcast. And they'll be like, we need to hear a testimony from a colonel. We can't trust the reports of a podcaster.
Yes, 100%. You shouldn't trust what I say.
We don't know, but let us know what you think. Do you believe that there is any truth to the existence of the wind tosser? As I said, not necessarily a Christmas story.
Ho, ho, ho!
But Christmas adjacent. He looks like a giant chocolate bar. He lives in the snowy woods. He looks like the ho 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 dag. I'm claiming it as a slightly Christmas-themed episode.
The wind tosser, the winter tosser?
Winter
The
tosser.
winter tosser?
I like this a lot. But of course, I didn't want to blow our load on the Christmas episode
say that.
because, as Kit said, we are going to be back next Tuesday on Christmas Eve. And I don't know if you want to tell the people what you've got planned right now, Kit, but I assume it's a little more jingly-jangly and Christmas-themed than the wind tosser.
It is. And I've got it planned. And
Nice.
it's all up here. It's all up here. And
Fort Knox.
I could give you a teaser if I wanted to, but I just don't.
Right. So don't even think about what it's going to be. Just make sure on Christmas Eve, you've got your hot cocoa ready.
Right.
You're in a cozy jumper, fire lit, Christmas tree behind you, and you'll be able to just put those ear pods in your ear to drown out the racist rants of your Uncle Mark.
Yep.
And then just hit play and enjoy some Christmas festivities.
I'm going to recreate that for you now. So the thing is, they don't want to talk about the border, but the thing about the border is that we really have to take it seriously. Isn't that relaxing? Wasn't that relaxing to just
hearing
phase that out?
Yeah, that sounds really nice. So thank you for listening to this week's episode of This Paranormal Life. Hopefully, we will see many of you back next week on Christmas Eve.
Ish.
And, of course, we can't end the podcast without saying thank you to everyone who listens to this show. Thank you to everyone who supports this show. And thank you especially to everyone who supports this show on Patreon. As you know, this show is community funded, meaning the audience supports us on Patreon, and through that, they get a bunch of extra cool rewards like bonus content, merchandise, shout outs at the end of the podcast. And one real cool thing that we should mention, if you're a little strapped for time, I know sometimes it gets close to Christmas and you're like, oh, I forgot to get so-and-so a gift. I need something last minute. You don't want to rush out to the shops and deal with the craziness of all the last minute panic buying. We've got a great suggestion for you. Over on patreon.com/This Paranormal Life, you can actually gift someone a Patreon subscription.
100%. So this is perfect for if you've got that person in your life, maybe your bestie also listens to This Paranormal Life. They haven't taken the plunge. Maybe they just don't use Patreon or haven't done it themselves. You could pick them up a membership. Give them the gift of hundreds and hundreds of hours of TPL this Christmas. Alternatively, they don't even have to listen to TPL. It could be someone who, that one person who you're just like, it's hard to recommend things to people, isn't it? So we've all got that one friend who you're like, I know you're going to like this, right, but you just won't take me up on the suggestion. So I'm going to force you to. I'm going to get you the membership. Here you go. Whether you like it or not, it's all there.
I want people to take that approach and buy a subscription for their like hyper conservative parents.
That's right.
But they're like, look, I bought you it. It's a gift. You have to listen to it.
Yeah.
And it's just listening to hours of us talking about monsters and aliens. And they're like, thank you. Thank you for the present. I appreciate it. Wow. So check it out. Head on over to patreon.com/This Paranormal Life. I hope you enjoyed our investigation into the wind tosser. Did things go poorly today? Yeah, they did.
Not really.
Should I have changed the structure of the script and just decided impulsively to turn the second half into a game show where I introduce cryptids? Absolutely, I shouldn't have done that. I think it massively derailed the story and our conclusions. But I think a year from now, we'll look back on this episode fondly and we'll be like, remember the wind tosser?
Sure.
He was a weird little guy, wasn't he?
Sure.
Just a screaming ball of pine and wood. Yeah, I think it's going to be great.
Either that or whenever we look back and think of this episode, we will just involuntarily make the sound of the wind tosser.
Thank you for listening, guys. I hope you're having a great holiday season. We will see you back here again on Christmas Eve. Woohoo! Bye-bye.